You are listening to the Centerpoint Self-Care Podcast. We are here to show you how to synchronize your environment, mind, body, and breathing to return to your center. I am Kevin Allen Kerber, and I am here speaking with the creator of the Centerpoint Self-Care Method, Barkley Powers. Barkley is an award-winning filmmaker and a world-class internal martial arts scholar. Today, we are going to be talking about psychological wholeness. So, Barkley, let's talk about cravings for psychological wholeness and how Centerpoint creates a gentle and functional path for recovery and healing.
The idea is that when people have substance use issues, as Jung put it out, they are actually seeking psychological wholeness by using the substance. So that if someone has a problem with drinking, Jung's framework was one where they were seeking to integrate the unconscious with the conscious mind and to unite male and female aspects of themselves within themselves by focusing on drinking more and more. And so it became well known at the end of the 1800s that what they called the thought cure, which was the use of a strong religious conversion experience, often was highly effective in reducing smoking and drinking issues. And so it was noted by William James that the cure for dipsomania, which meant binge drinking, was religious mania. And this has become part of many recovery groups and the modern 12-step programs as well, with the emphasis on the higher power that enables you to transcend your self-destructive cravings. And so these frameworks work for some people. Other people have trouble because they're often poised in terms of a religious framework. And so where Centerpoint is different is that we're using the meridian system of the body to balance dopamine and serotonin levels, which are pleasure and happiness in terms of neurotransmitter function. And the idea is by integrating certain types of meditation, certain types of movements, certain types of breathing practices, it's possible for the individual to rewire the nervous system and change the brain reward cascade system, which is where the individual has gotten locked into a particular pattern of habitual behavior, which is destructive and which is causing problems based on this ancient meditation framework in which attachment results in discomfort or suffering. So the Centerpoint model differs from other recovery approaches because it enables the person to maintain whatever their own spiritual or religious belief system is or is not. But then it provides a set of tools and a methodology for the person to practice gradually and to integrate the conscious, unconscious, and collective unconscious levels of the mind and of the body, and to return to a state of psychological wholeness, which is what the person is actually seeking to begin with. So balancing out the connections between the sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric nervous systems, which are determining how the person reacts to stress, emotional pain, sadness, or personal loss. And so many conventional types of exercise, if they're overdone in particular, can actually cause greater stress because they stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the fight, or flight mechanism in the body, which results in anxiety, depression, feelings of helplessness, and overall stress in terms of the adrenal system and cortisol levels. Whereas the center point approach is a gentle and non-coercive methodology that does not use shame, that does not use moral judgment, and that does not necessarily use a normal higher power framework like many 12-step programs, unless the individual prefers this approach. And what this enables the individual to do is to pace themselves at their own level, to gradually reduce whatever the self-destructive behavioral patterns are, and then to increase overall levels of cellular energy production and the stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest and overall contentment. And obviously, nutritional supplementation and a healthy, clean diet is valuable and important, as well as solid sleep, aerobic exercise, and overall emotional balance. But the idea is that even if the individual only does 1 to 3 simple movements combined with slow breathing that synchronizes the upper body and the lower body for 15 or 20 minutes once or twice a day in a relatively short period of time, probably 2 to 4 weeks, there should be noticeable improvement. The person should feel better and better with strong feelings of well-being that are associated with the practice. And the idea is that doing the center point method, which includes moving exercises to circulate the prana or the chi, which is the bioelectricity of the body, standing meditation postures, which charges the body with bioelectrical energy, and then seated practices, which store the energy and then integrate the conscious, unconscious, and collective unconscious levels of the psyche. In a very short period of time, the individual feels much better, and the habitual patterns of destructive behavior can be dramatically reduced. And obviously, everybody is different, and some people are going to get much better results than others. It depends on the severity of the issue and the level of attachment to the self-destructive behavior. But nevertheless, if the person is able to stick with the center point practice consistently, 5 or 6 days a week, once or twice a day, automatically there should be continuous improvement, and sleep should be improved, digestion should be improved, and then overall feelings of well-being and emotional contentment should be improved. And one of the side effects of these types of exercises, which originate in ancient Asian medical systems and ancient Asian internal martial arts systems, is that you will notice stronger and stronger feelings of well-being that are associated with each practice session. So that as long as you do the exercises, you will feel better. And then the better that you get at the exercises, the more you enjoy them, the more you get to practice them outside in a leafy green environment, like a park or like the woods. The more you will notice these feelings of well-being and contentment and satisfaction, which we call brain satisfaction at center point. At the end of the session, these positive feelings of wellness will continue for longer and longer periods of time. And within a few months, the individual should be at a much higher level of overall performance, overall value fulfillment, and to be discovering deeper and deeper levels of purpose and meaning, which are associated with the activation of dormant areas of the brain, which is what these ancient practices are focused on doing. And so the idea of ancient meditation is for the individual to discover that their true identity is one of inner illumination. And this is often described as discovering your true nature. And it's a well-known aspect of Zen and many other systems that are thousands of years old and form the basis of yoga, qigong, tai chi, and various mind, body, spirit integration models.
Can you talk about the overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system? Why it's important to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system to counteract that, and what the differences are between them?
The concept is that our ancient ancestors were hunter-gatherers. And to survive in ancient times, and this is all wired into our DNA, you had to be constantly on the alert for apex predators. Those would include large cats, like mountain lions, large apex predators, like cave bears, saber-toothed tigers, snakes. There was constantly a fear of being bitten by a poisonous snake in many of the southern countries in Asia. And the metaphor of mistaking a rope in the dark for a snake is one of the examples that's used in Indian meditation systems to distinguish between the true reality and the feared reality, in which the rope is not recognized but is perceived as a dangerous, threatening predator in dimly lit conditions. And so the idea is that we have developed a survival system linked to fight, flight, or freeze in our sympathetic nervous system, and that modern life, particularly the screens with the pings and almost every aspect of daily living, is constantly stimulating the sympathetic nervous system as if we are about to be attacked by an apex predator, even if these are no longer a threat because of modern civilization. And so obviously this includes driving around in a car, which is quite dangerous. And then this includes all of the negative news stories that are constantly increasing our level of fear and paranoia and discomfort. And then a lack of sleep on top of that, and then constant stress that's created by stimulants, and then a wide variety of substances that are used to calm or ease emotional pain and to numb the individual. The end result is that we're constantly in a state of chronic frustration, chronic discomfort, and have an inability to be satisfied by anything because we're constantly looking for a future reward. So that we're constantly in fear or sadness over events that occurred in the past, and we're constantly focused on the possibility of future happiness in a future time space that doesn't really exist, but is used as the basis of capitalism and the advertising industry to tell us that happiness will come when we buy the new item that will lead to emotional and physical satisfaction and greater well-being. And so the goal of these mind, body, spirit practices, which Centerpoint uses to integrate the individual with their environment and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is satisfaction, contentment, comfort, and safety, is breathing exercises that slow the fast brainwave states. So there are 6 primary brainwave states: gamma, beta, and high beta, which are all associated with the sympathetic nervous system. The three slow brainwave states, alpha, theta, and delta, which basically conform to meditation, dreaming, and deep dreamless sleep, those are all associated with rest, digestion, satisfaction, feelings of safety, and well-being. So the normal person has been conditioned into an almost permanent state of dissatisfaction, high stress, and feelings of apprehension, anxiety, worry, and fear. By using the center point method on a regular basis, which means once or twice a day, 5 or 6 days a week, the parasympathetic nervous system is stimulated and the individual will balance out, because the idea is you did not start out at the beginning of your life in this highly stressed state. It's the creation of your breathing pattern from the upper chest instead of the lower abdomen, and then the conditioning process which trained you to look at reality in terms of fear and anxiety as opposed to well-being and homeostasis. So the body wants to return to health and balance and freedom and emotional peace, but you have to change the breathing pattern and you have to change the way the nervous system is functioning for that to become normal. And that's why we anticipate great success with using Centerpoint for PTSD, trauma recovery, substance abuse, and severe anxiety and feelings of depression and loss. And at this point, grief is now categorized as a mental disorder. And the idea is that these disorders can be treated by pharmaceutical drugs, but that these can be habituating and can also lead to strong negative side effects, and that it's possible by using the Centerpoint method, which integrates moving, dynamic exercises, static meditation exercises, and whole body breathing techniques, to integrate the individual with the environment and with the parasympathetic nervous system. And at the end of the day, when these methods are used successfully, they have the ability to restore greater and greater levels of health and well-being on both a mental and a physical level. And that is why, at this point, doctors are recommending Tai Chi, yoga, mindfulness meditation. And the Centerpoint theory is one in which we are combining aerobic exercise for the circulation system, anaerobic exercise for strength and balance, and then meditation practice, which is exercising the mind and rewiring the nervous system for maximum well-being, satisfaction, wholeness, and self-healing.
What is it about consistency in doing this that works to increase chi in clear blockages?
The concept is that the meridian system is a circulation system that correlates to the nerve pathways in the fascia of the body, and that these nerve pathways actually connect the organs with the brain, probably primarily via the vagus nerve. And so the idea is that to recover from stress, to recover from anxiety, to balance the brain's electrical and chemical circuitry and systems, we need to slow the breathing and go into these slow brainwave states consciously over and over and over until this becomes the dominant pattern of being, experience, and self-perception. And so the idea is that most people who are highly stressed are constantly engaged in a negative internal dialogue based on self-doubt, based on self-loathing, based on fear, based on apprehension, based on regret. According to meditation theory, these perceptions are based on a false or imaginary perception of the self, which doesn't really exist and is based on a conditioned state that has been created by education, experience, and personal narratives, often personal narratives that are based on suffering and trauma. And so by rewiring the nervous system through regular practice, stimulating the sympathetic nervous system over and over, dormant areas of the brain are activated, and creativity, intuition, and overall well-being may be radically enhanced depending on the individual, and then depending on the depth of the practice. And so Centerpoint uses many methods, which include guided meditation and then a variety of types of movement and breathing that link the energy of the earth and sky with the energy of the body, which is the ancient model of integrating the energy of the human body with the energy of nature by practicing directly in a natural place. And so the idea is that the vibration or magnetic field of the earth has the potential to balance the mind and the body if the practice is done on a regular basis. And the way this is described is in ancient texts, is that the sky, the earth, and the human being become one being. Now, this may or may not occur physiologically, but what's really going on is that the electrical frequencies that determine the balanced state of the brain are improved to the point where the person is experiencing a level of brain satisfaction that's associated with happiness and well-being instead of stress, anxiety, regret, and emotional pain. And in recent studies, it's been noted that people feel the best and are the happiest when they're in an outdoor environment that's beautiful, sunny, and warm with someone that they like very much. And so that's a very good model for wellness. And the idea is by repeating the Centerpoint practices, which can be done indoors on a rainy day, what ends up happening is that you end up experiencing reality as if you're in a beautiful landscape on a beautiful sunny day that's warm with friends and or family that you love who love you. And those feelings become dominant instead of all of the normal feelings that are associated with discomfort, a lack of satisfaction, stress, pain, anxiety, and depression. And these are all associated with greatly increasing brain cell and overall cellular energy production throughout the body and synchronizing the firing of the neurons in the brain, the heart, and the lower abdomen, which results in balance, harmony, equilibrium, and longer feelings of well-being that last for longer and longer periods of time between the training sessions. But the training has to be done on a consistent and regular basis, like any other form of exercise, like brushing your teeth, like taking a shower, and then eventually it'll happen by itself and become timeless, effortless, and blissful.
For more Centerpoint podcast topics like this, along with free guided meditations and classes on the Centerpoint method and more, visit us at centerpoint.app.